Chapter 1. The Scratch-Off. The end of my marriage didn't sound like a scream. It sounded like the scratching of a nickel against cardboard. It was a Thursday evening in October. The kind of gray, drizzly Chicago day that seeps into your bones. I had just come home from my shift at the hospital. I'm a radiologist tech, and I was exhausted. My husband, Mark, was on the couch. As usual, he was between opportunities. A phrase he had been using for 3 years. Before that, he was exploring his options. And before that, he was misunderstood by management. "We're out of coffee pods," Mark said without looking up from his phone. He was scrolling through Zillow, looking at waterfront properties in Miami. A hobby of his. He called it manifesting. I called it delusion. "I'll put it on the list," I said, hanging my coat. "Did you mail the mortgage check? It's due tomorrow." "I'll get to it, Sarah. Stop nagging. You kill the vibe." I walked into the kitchen, feeling that familiar heavy stone in my stomach. I was 38. I was the sole breadwinner. And I was married to a man who treated me like a roommate he barely tolerated. On the counter sat a small pile of junk mail and a novelty item I had bought at the gas station on my way home. It was a gag gift for my office's Secret Santa exchange, which was happening early this year. It was a scratch-off lottery ticket. The Millionaires Club. It looked incredibly real. The holographic foil, the legal fine print on the back, the barcode. But it was a prank ticket. I had bought it for $5 at a novelty shop. No matter what you scratched, it always showed a jackpot of $5 million. I left it on the counter next to the bills, intending to put it in my work bag the next morning. I went upstairs to take a shower. I stayed in there for 20 minutes, letting the hot water drown out the sound of the TV downstairs. I was thinking about leaving him. I had been thinking about it for months. But the guilt, the crushing guilt of abandoning someone who claimed to be depressed and trying, always stopped me. When I came downstairs, the kitchen was empty. The bills were still there. The prank ticket was gone. I frowned. I checked the floor. Maybe it had fallen? No. Then I heard it. A sound from the garage. A frantic, hushed whispering. I walked to the mudroom door and pressed my ear against it. Yes. Yes. I checked the numbers 3 times. Mark's voice was shaking. "It's the jackpot. 5 million. Cash option is probably 3. No, she doesn't know. She hasn't scratched it. I found it in the pile." My heart stopped. "Listen to me," Mark hissed. "I need a lawyer. Not a strip mall guy. A shark. I need to dissolve the marriage before I cash this in. If I cash it now, it's marital property. She gets half. I'm not giving that nag half of my destiny." I stepped back from the door, my hand over my mouth. He had stolen the ticket. He had scratched it. He thought he had won $5 million. And his first instinct, his immediate visceral reaction, was not to celebrate with his wife of 10 years. It was to cut me out. A wave of nausea hit me, then a wave of rage. I could have opened the door right then. I could have screamed, "It's a fake, you idiot. It's a gag gift." But then I remembered the last 10 years. The gaslighting. The lazy Sundays while I worked double shifts. The way he made me feel small so he could feel big. I didn't open the door. I walked back into the kitchen. I poured myself a glass of water. My hands were steady. If he wanted to play the high roller, I would let him. I would let him bet the house, the car, and his entire life on a piece of cardboard worth absolutely nothing. Chapter 2. The discard phase. Mark came back inside 10 minutes later. He looked manic. His pupils were dilated. He was sweating, but he was trying to act cool. "Hey," he said, opening the fridge and grabbing a beer. "So, I've been thinking. About the coffee pods?" I asked, playing my part. "About us," he said. He leaned against the counter, crossing his ankles. He looked at me with a mixture of pity and contempt. "Sarah, I'm not happy. I haven't been happy for a long time." "Oh, yeah. I feel like you hold me back. You're very safe, routine. And I'm a visionary, Sarah. I need space to expand, to breathe." "You want a divorce," I stated flatly. "I think it's for the best," he said quickly. "And I want to do it fast." No me si faites. I'm willing to be generous. You can keep the house. I almost laughed. The house was underwater. The mortgage was higher than the value. He was trying to offload the debt so he could start his millionaire life clean. You'd give me the house? I asked, widening my eyes. Mark, that's big of you. I just want to be fair, he said, puffing out his chest. I'll take the car. You take the house and the furniture. We split the savings account 50/50ths. And we sign a waiver on spousal support. Clean break. Effective immediately. He wanted to waive rights to my income because he thought his income was about to be astronomical. He was terrified I would ask for alimony from his winnings. I need time to think. I lied. Take tonight, he said, checking his watch. I'm going to stay at a hotel. To give you space. He grabbed his duffel bag. He had already packed. As he walked out the door, he turned back. You're a good woman, Sarah. You think too small. The door clicked shut. I walked to the window. I watched him get into our 2018 Honda Civic. He peeled out of the driveway like he was driving a Ferrari. I went to the kitchen drawer where I kept the receipt for the gag gift. I took a picture of it and uploaded it to my secure cloud storage. Then I shredded the paper receipt. I called my sister, Lisa, who is a paralegal. Lisa, I said, do you know a shark? Chapter 3, The Leveraging. The next 2 weeks were a blur of legal paperwork. Mark was pushing for the divorce at breakneck speed. He hired a high-end lawyer, undoubtedly on credit, promising him a big payday soon. Mark was sloppy. He was so focused on hiding the ticket, which I assumed was in a safety deposit box, that he didn't read the fine print of our separation agreement. I gave him what he wanted. I took the house and the debt. I kept my retirement accounts. I agreed to no spousal support. The day we signed the papers, Mark was practically vibrating. We met at a notary's office. You look tired, Sarah, he said, signing his name with a flourish. It's been a hard week, I said. Well, you'll land on your feet. You're a worker bee. You love the grind. He handed the papers to the notary. Is that it? Are we done? Once the judge stamps it, in about 48 hours, you are legally single, the notary said. Mark grinned. It was a wolfish, hungry grin. Excellent. I walked out to the parking lot. Mark followed me. Hey, he said. I'm moving on to some big things, Sarah. Some investments I've been working on are about to pay off. I'm happy for you, Mark. I'm looking at property, he bragged. He couldn't help himself. He wanted me to know I was missing out. In Lake Forest, a mansion, 12,000 square feet. Mark, how can you afford that? Leverage, Sarah. It's called leverage. Banks lend to winners. I realized then what he was doing. He wasn't waiting for the cash. He was taking out bridge loans. He was using hard money lenders. He was borrowing against a future that didn't exist. Be careful, I said. Don't tell me what to do anymore, he snapped. Enjoy your mediocrity. He got into a brand new Porsche Cayenne. It still had the dealer plates. He had leased it, or maybe bought it on a high-interest loan. I watched him drive away. That night I did some digging. Mark had always been terrible with passwords. I logged into his email. I found the emails from the real estate agents. He had put an offer on a $4.5 million estate. He had put down a non-refundable deposit of $150,000. Where did he get $150,000? I kept clicking. He had liquidated his 401k. He had maxed out 4 credit cards for the cash advance. And he had borrowed money from a shady private lender at 18% interest, using the verified lottery ticket. He must have shown them a photo as collateral proof of funds. He was all in. He had burned the bridge, the boat, and the dock. Chapter 4, The Mansion. 3 days after the divorce was finalized, Mark closed on the mansion. I don't know how he managed to talk the lenders into it so fast. Probably by promising them a massive bonus payment within 30 days. Greed makes people blind, not just Mark, but the people around him too. He posted it on Instagram. A photo of him standing in front of massive iron gates, holding a bottle of Dom Perignon. Caption: started from the bottom. Now we hear. Hashtag grindset, hashtag new beginning, hashtag upgrade. He blocked me, but Lisa sent me the screenshots. He's insane, Lisa texted. He hasn't even cashed the ticket yet. Why is he spending? Because he wants to be the king, I texted back. He wants to walk into the lottery office as a rich man, not a poor one. It's his ego. He also bought a boat, a 40-foot Sea Ray. He named it the Vindicated. I sat in my modest kitchen drinking tea. I looked at the calendar. It had been 3 weeks since he stole the ticket. He was likely waiting for the divorce decree to be physically in his hand before claiming the prize, just to be absolutely safe. He wanted to make sure I couldn't touch a dime. The phone rang. It was Mark. I hesitated, then answered. Hello, Sarah. His voice was booming, echoey, like he was in a large, empty room. I just wanted to call and say, no hard feelings. That's nice of you, Mark. I'm standing in my great hall right now, he said. It has 20-foot ceilings, marble floors imported from Italy. I just wanted you to know. I could have shared this with you, if you had just believed in me. I believed in reality, Mark. Reality is what you make it, he scoffed. I'm going to the lottery office in Springfield tomorrow. I'm claiming the prize. When you see my face on the news, try not to choke on your regret. You're cashing it tomorrow? I asked. First thing in the morning. I've already hired a limo. Mark, I said, and I allowed a tiny sliver of genuine pity to enter my voice. Are you sure? Have you really looked at the ticket? I've looked at it 1,000 times, he shouted. I verified the numbers. I won. Me, not you. Me. He hung up. I put the phone down. I imagined him standing in that empty, echoing mansion, surrounded by things he didn't own, paid for with money that didn't exist. I slept like a baby that night. Chapter 5, The Limo Ride. The next morning, I took a personal day off work. I sat on my couch with the news channel on. I knew how the lottery commission worked. For a jackpot that size, they usually did a press conference. Or at least, the winner's name would be released by the afternoon. Mark posted a story at 8 a.m. A selfie inside a stretch Hummer limo. He was wearing a tuxedo. At 8 a.m., he was holding a glass of champagne. Caption, En route to destiny. He arrived at the Illinois Lottery Prize Center in Springfield at 11 a.m. I knew this because he went live on Facebook. I watched the stream. There were only about 15 viewers. Mostly his old high school buddies and some confused bots. All right, everyone, Mark said to the camera. He was flushed, sweaty, and grinning like a maniac. This is it. I'm walking in. I'm about to change my life forever. He walked up the steps of the government building. He pushed through the glass doors. The stream cut out as he entered the building, bad reception. I sat back and waited. I imagined the scene inside. He would walk up to the counter. He would slam the ticket down with that arrogant smirk. The clerk, a tired state employee named Linda or Barb, would pick it up. She would scan it. The machine would make a noise. Not the happy ding-ding-ding of a winner, but the dull thud of an error. Or she would look at it with her eyes. She would see the barcode. She would see the fine print on the back that says, for novelty use only, not legal tender, void where prohibited. I poured myself a second cup of coffee. My phone rang. It wasn't Mark. It was Lisa. Turn on the police scanner app, she screamed. Springfield Channel. Why? Just do it. Mark got arrested. Arrested? I blinked. For what? Being stupid isn't a crime. No, Lisa said, breathless. He didn't just try to cash it. He screamed at them. He jumped over the counter. Sarah? He tried to strangle the lottery clerk. The Sangamon County Jail is not a place where millionaires usually spend their Tuesday nights. It smells of industrial cleaner, unwashed bodies, and despair. I didn't go there. I stayed in my living room, sipping tea, watching the local news feed on my iPad. The headline was almost too perfect. Lottery hopeful arrested after attacking clerk over fake ticket. They didn't release his name immediately, but they showed the footage. It was blurry security cam video. You could see a man in a tuxedo, my ex-husband, gesturing wildly. You could see him point at the ticket. Then you saw him lunge over the counter like a rabid animal, grabbing the plexiglass shield and trying to shake it down. 2 security guards tackled him. The champagne glass he had been holding shattered on the floor. My phone rang at 11:45 p.m. Caller ID, Sangamon County Correctional Facility. I accepted the charges. Sarah? His voice was a wreck, hoarse, panicked, and small. It was the voice of a man waking up from a dream into a nightmare. Hello, Mark. You have to get me out, he whispered. It's a mistake, a massive conspiracy. The machine was rigged. They switched the ticket, Sarah. That clerk, she did a sleight of hand. She stole my $5 million. Mark, I said calmly. Stop. I need bail, he rushed on. It's set at $50,000. I don't have access to my cards right now because they confiscated my wallet. You have to post it. Use the savings. I'll pay you back double tomorrow once I get my lawyer to seize the security footage. There are no savings, Mark, I reminded him. We split them. You spent your half on the down payment for the mansion. Remember. Silence. Then take a loan. Sarah, please. I'm in a tuxedo in a holding cell with a guy who bit a cop. You have to help me. I can't help you, I said. We're divorced. Legally. As of yesterday. Your debts are your own. Your bail is your own. You BTSH, he screamed, the veneer cracking. You're enjoying this. You want me to fail. But I won. I know I won. I scratched it myself. Good luck, Mark. I hung up. Then I blocked the number. I slept well, but Mark didn't. He spent the night in the tank. He eventually called his private lender, the shark who had loaned him the bridge money. I don't know what he told him, but Mark was released on bail the next morning. I imagine the ride back to Chicago was quiet. The limo was gone, impounded, or the driver left when he realized he wasn't getting paid. Mark probably had to take the bus. Chapter 7, The House of Cards. Mark didn't go to his apartment. He didn't have one. He went to the mansion in Lake Forest. He still had the keys. He probably thought if he could just get inside, sit on his Italian marble floors, and drink his Dom Perignon, he could figure a way out. He could sue the lottery commission. He could bluff. But bad news travels faster than light. I heard the details later from Lisa, whose paralegal network was buzzing with the gossip. When Mark pulled up to the mansion in an Uber, the gates were locked. The code didn't work. He hopped the fence, ruining his tuxedo trousers, and walked up the long driveway. There were trucks in the driveway. Not moving trucks. Repo trucks. The hard money lenders aren't like banks. Banks take months to foreclose. Hard money lenders, especially the predatory ones Mark had used, move instantly. The contract Mark signed likely had a clause: immediate default upon failure to provide proof of liquid assets within 48 hours. Since the lottery ticket was flagged as a fraud in the police report, his proof of funds had evaporated. Mark stood there, watching 2 large men towing his Porsche Cayenne. Hey! Mark yelled, running up to them. That's my car. Put it down. One of the men, a guy built like a vending machine, stopped and looked at Mark. He held a clipboard. Mr. Sterling? Yes, I am the owner of this property. Not anymore, the man said. The lender exercised the clawback clause. You're trespassing. We're here for the car, the boat, and the staging furniture you rented. Rented? Mark stammered. I bought that furniture. Credit card declined this morning, pal. It's going back. Mark watched as his millionaire lifestyle was dismantled piece by piece. The Porsche, the rented sofas, even the boat, the Vindicated, was being hooked up to a trailer down by the dock. He stood in the driveway of the empty mansion, in a torn tuxedo, with nothing but the phone in his pocket. And then his phone started ringing. It wasn't me. It wasn't his friends. It was the credit card companies, the banks, the personal loan sharks. The algorithm had flagged him. His credit score, which he had torched to get the loans, was now free-falling. He sat on the front steps of the mansion he couldn't enter and put his head in his hands. Chapter 8. The Confrontation. 3 days later, I came home from work to find Mark sitting on my front porch step. He looked like a ghost. He was wearing jeans and a hoodie, probably the only clothes he had left in his gym bag. He hadn't shaved. His eyes were bloodshot. I parked my car in the driveway and walked up slowly. I wasn't afraid of him anymore. He looked too defeated to be dangerous. "You changed the garage code," he said without looking up. "It's my house, Mark. Remember?" He looked up at me. His eyes were desperate, searching for a lifeline. "Sarah, it was real. I swear to God." I scratched it. It said 5 million. It had the matching numbers. 777. I saw it. I stood over him, clutching my purse. "I know you saw it, Mark." "Then what happened?" he pleaded. "Did I hallucinate? Did someone switch it while I slept? Did you switch it?" His eyes narrowed. A flicker of his old paranoia returned. "You were the only one there," he whispered. "You found it first, didn't you? You swapped it for a fake one to punish me." I sighed. I reached into my bag. I had been carrying it with me for days, waiting for this moment. I pulled out a piece of paper. It wasn't the ticket. It was the printout of the receipt from the novelty shop. Item: prank lottery ticket, Millionaires Club price, $5.99 store. Giggles and gags, date, October 14th. I handed it to him. Mark took the paper. His hands were shaking so hard the paper rattled. He read it. He read it again. "A prank?" he whispered. "I bought it for the office Christmas party," I said. "I left it on the counter." "You stole it, Mark. You stole a gag gift." He stared at the paper. His mouth opened and closed. It was never real?"
No.
"But I quit my job," he choked out. "I cursed out my boss. I told him he was a peasant. I bought a mansion. I borrowed $4 million. "You borrowed money against a piece of cardboard," I said coldly. "Because you were greedy. Because you didn't trust me. Because the moment you thought you were rich, your first instinct was to leave me behind." He dropped the receipt. He looked at me with horror. "You knew," he said. "When I told you I won, you knew it was fake." "Yes. And you let me do it?" He stood up, his face flushing red with rage. "You let me destroy my life? You watched me dig this hole and you didn't say a word." "I gave you a chance, Mark," I said, stepping back. "Remember? I asked you to stay. I asked if we could work it out. You told me I was holding you back. You told me I was mediocre. You demanded the divorce. You rushed the paperwork." I looked him dead in the eye. "I didn't destroy your life, Mark. Your ego did. I just got out of the way of the train." He stood there, trembling. He realized, finally, the magnitude of his mistake. He had traded a loyal wife and a paid-off life for a gag gift and a mountain of debt he could never repay. "I have nothing," he whispered. "They're going to sue me. I'm going to go to jail for fraud." "Probably," I said. "You used a fake asset to secure loans. That's bank fraud, Mark." He fell to his knees. He actually fell to his knees on my porch. "Sarah, please, take me back. Let me stay here. I can fix this. We can declare bankruptcy. We can fight it together." I looked at the man who had called me expired goods, in spirit, if not in words. The man who had hidden his millions so I wouldn't get a dime. "You're trespassing," I said. "Sarah, get off my porch, Mark, or I'm calling the police. And given your current legal status, I don't think you want them here." He looked at me one last time. He saw no mercy. He stood up slowly. He wiped his nose on his sleeve. He turned and walked down the driveway, his shoulders hunched, walking into the gray Chicago dusk. Chapter 9. The Aftermath. Mark's downfall was public and spectacular. The story hit the news cycle. Local man bankrupts self over prank lottery ticket. The internet had a field day. Memes of his mugshot, Tuxedo Askew, screaming at the clerk, went viral. He was the lotto loser. He couldn't get a job. Who would hire a man who fell for a $5 prank and committed fraud to capitalize on it? His creditors were ruthless. He declared Chapter 7 bankruptcy, but because of the fraud element, the debts weren't easily discharged. He was facing criminal charges for the loan applications. I went to one of his court hearings, just to see. He looked broken. He had a public defender. He was facing 3 to 5 years for wire fraud and obtaining property by false pretenses. When the judge asked him if he had anything to say, Mark stood up. "I just wanted to be someone," he said quietly. "I just wanted to win." He didn't win. He got 24 months in a minimum security facility in downstate Illinois. Chapter 10. The Real Win. 6 months after he went to prison, I was cleaning out the attic. I found a box of his old stuff that I hadn't thrown away yet. Inside was his vision board. Pictures of yachts, mansions, and piles of cash. I threw it in the trash. I went downstairs. I made myself a cup of coffee. I sat on my porch, the porch of the house I owned, free and clear of his negative energy. I wasn't rich. I still worked at the hospital. I still clipped coupons. But I had peace. I looked at the driveway where he used to park. It was empty. I realized then that I had won the lottery. I had shed 180 pounds of dead weight. I had escaped a loveless marriage without losing my house or my savings. I had regained my freedom. The prank ticket cost me $5.99. It was the best investment I ever made. Epilogue. The letter. A year later, I received a letter from prison. "Sarah, I have a lot of time to think in here. I think about the ticket. But mostly I think about the night I found it. You asked me if I mailed the mortgage check. I snapped at you. I realized something. The ticket was a test of character. And I failed it before I even scratched the foil. You were the prize, Sarah. And I threw you away for a piece of cardboard. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know that I know. Mark." I read the letter. I folded it up. I walked to the kitchen counter. I pulled out a lighter. I held the corner of the letter to the flame and watched it burn. The ash curled and floated into the sink, washing away with a turn of the faucet. I grabbed my keys. I had a date, a real one, with a man who didn't care about lottery tickets, but cared about me. I walked out the door and didn't look back. The end.